The intervention I chose to use for Riley is a social narrative, particularly a social story. I started with a social story that included words and pictures because he's a middle school student. He expressed to me that it was too childlike for him, so then I decided to make the expectations for his intervention into more of a checklist form that he could check off himself when he's meeting his expectations. I began baseline data using both duration and frequency. For the duration data, I collected data through observation, and I measured the time that Riley remains on task without verbal interruptions, wanting to chit-chat about unrelated things during academic time. I also used frequency data to record the number of times Riley is off task with using verbal chit-chat. So first we began with collecting the baseline data. It did determine that there was a need for this intervention. I had Riley read the social story. He checked off what on task looks like to show me that he understands how to show that he is on task. And then he just began working. And while he was working, I was observing. And he did get off task during one of our sessions, the one that I recorded for the second video. He got off task only one time. Now that was towards the end of the intervention. So at that point, I did know that this intervention was working. And as you can see from the data, so this is the duration data. So this is our target behavior that records the time on task. So baseline wasn't super low, but it did show that there was a need. There was a trend here. It's about 60%. And then after the intervention was implemented, his time on task just continued to increase. The blue is session 1 and the orange is session 2. So for the intervention data, because I needed to collect more data, I did 2 sessions a day. But still increasing very well. Once his expectations were known and he knew that he was being observed, and he would be rewarded at the end if he met his goal. He really stayed on task and did a great job. Now for frequency data, here's the baseline. So this is the number of times that he stopped working and started talking about something unrelated. So you can see it's kind of high each day. But I did notice a trend, so we implemented the intervention and decreased. The number of times he got off task continued to decrease. So with both graphs, it shows that the intervention worked. Now, I was not able to continue working with him, but I did suggest that the teacher continues to just remind him of those expectations, give him the social narrative if he needs it. But so far, he's still doing really well. I think the thing that went well, or the things that went well, are once he got comfortable with me, he began to respect me as a teacher. So at first, he takes a while to get warmed up to adults and kind of respect them and listen and follow directions. So he did really well with that with me. I think switching from the social story with the pictures to the social story with the chart was an amazing idea. And it worked really well because he felt like he was more in control and he could monitor more himself, which he seems to really like to do. I think what could have been better, I wish I would have spent more time with Riley. I think if I would have been able to spend more time with him, he probably would have just stopped interrupting altogether, which is fine. I know it's going to take him a long time because he's in middle school. He's been used to being able to do this, and he's just been getting in trouble for doing it instead of, interventions being put in place to help correct it. I just wish I had more time with him, and I wish I would have been able to pull him from the classroom, because there were a lot of times when he didn't work because of the other students in the classroom. But that just wasn't a possibility for me. So I definitely would have changed that if possible. But for the most part, the intervention worked very well for him. I think it was appropriate for his age. I think it was appropriate for his target behaviors. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully working with him again in the future, on other things that he may need, even if it's not related to the practicum. But this did give me some more experience with using social stories and how to kind of adapt them to the specific child. So I'm very happy with the results, and I think his classroom teacher is too.